So if you want to turn your camera off, if you don't want to be on the recording, that's fine. So anyways, tonight we have Jennifer. She works for Links for Greener Learning. So she helps connect folks to plots in the community garden so that they can grow their own food. She started up a new community garden in Dane City, which the community is coming together to plan. She also runs a program to help connect our Niagara region newcomers to the green spaces and foster a deeper connection to the land and environment. So tonight she's doing a program for us on herbal body care, and I'll let Jennifer talk a bit about herself and then enjoy the program, everyone.
Thank you so much, Annie, for having me. Thank you to the Welland Public Library and everyone for coming tonight. Yeah, we were inspired to do some work tonight around herbs that have already been dried through the winter and what can we possibly do with these herbs. We start to crave gardening about now, so it's really nice to be working with the dried herbs again in any capacity. So body care is dear to my heart, and I sort of have a motto for skincare products. If I'm not going to eat it, I'm not going to put it on my skin. So all of the items that we're going to be working with tonight are items that you could ingest as well as put on your skin. And if you look at all of the ingredients of some of the skincare products you have, it's nice just to do a little Google search so you can become familiar with some of the additives that are in commercial brand moisturizers and bath products and soaps and whatnot. Because it's pretty eye-opening to see, basically, if you can't pronounce it, it's probably not wonderful to be putting on your body. So I'll start off, as Annie said, my name is Jennifer and I'm with Links for Greener Learning, and a lot of our programming right now, we're shifting towards trying to gear up our holistic programming for kids. And we have this really beautiful teaching garden in St. Catharines called the Buchanan Teaching Garden. And we run summer camps out of there. And there's a pond and lots of native wildlife and trees. And we basically just get kids marching around in a garden all summer long and making cool things. They make salsa and have it for lunch, lots of fun things. If you have any questions as we go, you can either pop them in the chat or just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask them. So I'll start. We're going to make 3 things tonight, which might be a bit ambitious, but 2 of them are pretty quick, and then 1 of them is a little more involved. So preserving our herbs. I don't know if any of you have grown calendula before. I'm going to show you some on my other camera. You know how to grow calendula? You know what calendula is. Awesome.
Yeah.
Here we go. Does this look like the calendula you know and love?
Oh.
So here's a nice bowl of dried calendula. And I usually just go out periodically in the summer and clip the flower heads off. And then I have, this is kind of fancy, but you don't need anything quite this fancy, but I have this mesh circular thing that I got from Lee Valley, and it's got a bunch of layers here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it opens up, there's 8 layers. And so I can dry a lot of herbs. So I just pop all my flower heads into that mesh dryer and just keep feeling them every now and again to make sure they're pretty dry. And then to process my calendula, I do want to take the green parts. Oh, that one's already empty. Right, so I would just take each flower after it's dried and pull out all the petals. This is a fun thing for kids to do, right? You could have a whole bowl like this, and
oh my goodness,
to just sit in a circle and pull apart flower petals, especially kids who are really detailed. They like detailed things with their hands. This isn't for all kids, but just those detailed kids. And then you've got all the beautiful petals here. So calendula is really lovely. It's a wound healer, really good on all your mucous membranes, including your skin. You can make it into a tea. So you could ingest it orally, but more commonly we use it in salves. So salves is just another word for a type of cream that's a little more liquid than it is solid. And that's what we're going to make tonight. So there's our beautiful calendula. And then a second herb we're going to work with tonight is lavender. Some of you might have lavender in your garden. And this lavender has already been processed. I don't know what I did with this. Oh, here's the stems. Again, this is a great activity for kids. You could give them a whole wheelbarrow full of lavender with the flowers still on, and that you just run your finger along the stalk until all the flowers pop off. If I'm infusing oil, I can use these stalks as well. There's a lot of beautiful essential oils in the stalks. But for today, we're going to use the flowers because they're beautiful for one of our bath salts. So smelling really nice. And another plant we're going to use is mint. And mint you can dry just like the lavender. So if I harvest my lavender, I'm going to harvest it with the stalks attached to the flowers. And then I'm just going to tie a string around the bundle and then hang it upside down. Here, I'll show my other video so you can see. Okay, so when it comes to harvest time, I'm just going to have a whole string with a whole bunch of mint hanging upside down, a whole bunch of lavender hanging upside down, oregano, thyme, like all my herbs are hanging upside down, as long as it's not a flower. Flowers I'll do using the other dryer.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
I have lavender, but I've just put it like in a vase. So it's not hanging upside down. Does that make a difference? No?
Oh no, that for lavender it's okay, right? Because the flowers tend to just stay in place. Do you find that it dries okay sitting upright? Yeah, beautiful. Then you have it in a vase and drying it out. Win-win. Sounds good. And what else do I have? So I've got mint. So mint, we're just going to strip, right? We're just going to strip it off the stalks, grind it up a little bit, and you can either use it for tea, or today we're going to put it into one of our bath salts. So this is an example of a bath salt that a friend made for me, and she made it a little bit different than what I'm used to. So I wanted to show you two different variations. This bath salt, instead of drying the herbs out, hanging them, putting them on a screen, she just spread a bunch of salt out on a cookie sheet and then put the wet flowers in the salt and just kept massaging it until the flowers were dry. And what I'm noticing, it's very beautiful. So she's got roses in here. Oh, it smells so amazing. She didn't add any essential oils at all, and it smells amazing. So I'm concluding based on this that you get more aroma if you massage the wet plants into the salt when making a bath salt. And I'll show you. Oops, what did I do with the one Here's another one that I made. This is where it's so nice to be in person. I would love to pass these around for you to smell. But here's one similar to we're going to make tonight. It's got Epson salts in there, so some really nice magnesium, which is really good for muscle tension, some baking soda, which is really good to relax the body and detoxify, and then all those aromatherapy herbs. And you can either put this bath salt in cheesecloth or a nylon or something and put it in the bathtub, or you can just dump this right into the tub. It depends on your preference. You do have to clean all this debris out of the tub afterwards. So if that doesn't spoil your relaxing bath, then go for it. And you could just dump this right in. And if you really don't want to clean your tub afterwards, I'd go for the nylon sock. So the other thing we're going to make tonight is a salve, and I don't have one. I've been using this one. So you'll see my finger marks in here. So this is a salve. It's really a nice consistency. And Oh my gosh, it goes on so nice. It's so nice to have this in the winter when our skin is so dry from being in the heat. So it's not super greasy. You can put it on your hands and you can put it on your face as well, but I would just do a little test patch. And in general, we're just learning about what our body and what our skin prefers to have on it. So we always do a test patch and see, hey, am I sensitive to that much vitamin E? Am I okay with this herb? I'm okay. So we'll just do a little test patch. I do find with the face, if you are going to react, it's going to be on the face because there's so much blood supply to the face that if there is some inflammation, it's really going to show in the face. And then the third thing we're going to make is this really nice, ours will be a bit more sugary, but I don't know if you can see the pink color. This is a Himalayan salt with sugar body scrub. It's an exfoliating body scrub that has coconut oil. And then you can see it's quite coarse, right? So I could rub this on my feet. It's really nice to take time to connect to our feet, which do so much for us. Our elbows, which pretty much get ignored. You know, just it's nice to just check in with all our body parts, which we don't do very much. And so when we're making these products, it's so nice and we're tempted to give them as gifts. But I do suggest we gift it to ourselves first. Because self-care is so important, especially right now. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on our salve. And I'm going to send Annie all these recipes. So don't worry about writing down all of the ingredients and the amounts. Just sort of watch and get a feel for how things are going to look. And then if you go to try this on your own and you're uncertain, you can just reach out to me and I'll coach you through it. Don't worry. So we are going to start with our salve because it takes a little bit of melting. For our salve, we're going to use, so this is olive oil with calendula petals inside. So you can see the color of my olive oil has gotten a little more red, that nice calendula flower. All of its medicinal properties have oozed into the oil. So that's really lovely. And so I did this yesterday, and you don't want to heat it too aggressively. So if it's in the winter time, you can just pop this right onto one of your heat registers if you have forced air heating, and then just let it sit there for 24 hours. If it's the summertime, you can just put it outside for a few hours in the sun. But the point is, we don't need to really give this oil an intense amount of heat. It's a gentle amount of heat just to warm it enough so that the petals give up their good stuff into the oil. So we're going to put 2 cups of that into a bowl, which there we go. So I'm going to strain. To make sure I don't get any of the calendula flowers, I am going to strain it. This is just one of those produce bags that you can get. They're mesh. You could strain it in cheesecloth as well. I might not even have any petals come out, but just in case. So I'm going to make a pretty big batch while I'm at this. So I'm going to do 2 cups. And of my oil. I'm going to pop that in here. File that under my to deal with later pile. Okay, so here we go. That's super beautiful. So we're just looking at our different fats that we want to all come together and be a consistency that's desirable to put on your skin. Okay, so this one's obviously too liquidy. So we want to mix it with some things that are more solid. So our solid options are beeswax. These are pretty solid. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to rub these on my skin at all. But beeswax is actually really wonderful for the skin. So we're going to add some of that. It also works as a natural sunscreen, combining beeswax in here. And some people use olive oil for sunscreen too, although I haven't read much about the efficacy of that. So we want to get a consistency between beeswax and the olive oil. And then the third ingredient that we're going to use is shea butter. And this is from the shea tree, which grows in African countries. This one is from Ghana. And I am looking for more local, like I still haven't found anything that grows locally that I can get this sort of consistency and this wonderful substance. So shea butter is actually quite thick, but pliable, right? So it's sort of in between the beeswax and the olive oil. It's like a dough consistency. Okay, so I don't have a double boiler. I'm just going to do a makeshift one. So I'll just show you. I've got an assistant who's my son, who's going to stir for me when I'm ready. But I've just put a pot on the stove and I'm boiling some water. And then to melt those oils and mix them together, I'm just going to pop my bowl on top. And I've got just enough water in my pot so that it just touches the bottom of that bowl. So before I turned it on, I filled the pot with water, I put the bowl on top, and then I felt the bottom. And when it was wet, I knew I had enough there. So let's go ahead. Oh, sorry. Oh my goodness. It's 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. I told my family they had to order pizza tonight because I had to take up the whole kitchen. And the kids are, of course, very happy about this. Here we go. Here is the beautiful Calendula olive oil. And I'm going to do 6 level tablespoons of beeswax. One, two, 3, 4, 5. To make that one a little bit more. And sometimes I just do that. And I'm now going to put in 4 tablespoons of the shea butter. So it does come out of this package pretty easily. So there's 1. 2. And shea butter has a very interesting smell to it as well. I like it, but some people have it'll take an acquired nose. Cocoa butter is another ingredient that you sometimes find in natural healthcare products. And it's also really lovely. It's just a lot harder. I can show you the consistency of cocoa butter. And all it is finding the balance between how much of each you want to put in to get that right consistency. I'll show you cocoa butter, which I usually put in my lip balms. So it's quite hard. Like I can scrape it with my fingernail to get it off, but it's actually quite hard. So it's not pliable at all. Similar to the beeswax.
So Jennifer, someone's asking, can you do this in the microwave?
I've never done it in the microwave, and I'd be very curious to know if you can. Have you done it in the microwave before?
No, we were just asking to see if it was going to go faster, but it doesn't seem to be working. So we'll use your method.
Got it. Are you making something along with us right now?
Yes, we just ran around trying to get your product. So we're trying.
Oh, wow. Okay. In hindsight, I could have told you all the ingredients so we could have made this all together. That would have been fun. Note to future self. So here we go. Avery's going to stir. So I'm going to put it on medium heat, and it won't take very long to start to melt. But he's going to use the whisk because even though once it all melts and it's all going to look like olive oil, essentially, if you don't whisk it up really well, when it re-solidifies, you're going to see these little beads back again. They didn't go anywhere. So once you melt it, you just want to make sure everything gets to know each other really well. And you'll have the right consistency. So while we are melting down our oils, I thought we might as well move on to the next, because literally after we've melted it all down, we're just going to pour it into our molds. So it's very easy. Okay, so the next thing, let's go ahead and start our Epsom salts. So we'll just make a small quantity of these. So earlier today, we harvested some juniper berries, which are really, really a beautiful aroma. But honestly, just go for a nice nature walk, and anything that smells good is probably going to be something that's wonderful for your bath salts. Cedar, pine, all those beautiful aromatics would be wonderful. So we're going to do 1 cup of Epsom salts. And just to give you a pricing idea, so here's a bag of Epsom salts that I got from the bulk barn. I got the receipt here. So this is $1.61. And I'm only going to use a cup of it today. You could probably get 3 cups. It's $1.61. So pretty cheap Epsom salts are. And this, like, it's from just the bulk barn at Seaway Mall. Oops. And what do I do with my measuring cup? Here we go. So we're going to do 1 cup of Epsom salts. And we're going to do a 1/4 cup baking soda. And baking soda, of course, is very cheap as well. There's way more baking soda than we need. And what was the price? Oh, 57 cents for this much baking soda. Okay, so we're thankfully not breaking the bank here with this recipe. And we're going to do a 1/4 cup I wish you could smell all of this. It smells so wonderful in here. Okay, so I've got a 1/4 cup baking soda, my Epsom salts, my juniper berries. And then honestly, the rest is just up to you. If you have dried roses from your garden, I'm going to put in some calendula, super beautiful in a bath. I'm going to put in my lavender. And I'm going to put in some mint. And I know I'm just eyeballing these amounts because it's not super critical that we have a particular amount. It's more, does it look beautiful in the jar? And is there enough to make your bath smell amazing? Okay, so that's all really beautiful. If I had more dried rose petals, I would throw those in as well. But this, oh my goodness, it smells so good. The hardest part of this recipe is actually using it. You have to actually have a bath and put everything in. So we're just going to put everything into our jar. How's it going over at the stove? Is it starting to dissolve? Oops. This part of it starting to dissolve. Okay, good. Okay, looking good. I should have used a funnel. And then I usually just make sure the very top is very pretty. And if I don't have enough left in the bowl, sometimes maybe I'll put a bit of lavender on top. There. So that's really beautiful. And you could dump this whole 250 mils into 1 bath. You can be quite generous with your Epsom salts. There we go. Beautiful gift for somebody. I'm just going to check in on the fats. Okay, looking good. Let me see if I can get this camera to show you. Okay, can you see inside the pot? You can see that everything's starting to dissolve, but we're not quite there yet. As soon as everything's fully dissolved and we've given it a good whisk, are you stepping out of the frame? That's okay. We've given it a good whisk, then we're good to go. So we'll wait on that. And while we're waiting on that, we can start the third item. Since we have time, we'll be very efficient here. So the third item is an exfoliating bath scrub. And similar to the salve, I want to infuse some herbs into oil. This time it's coconut oil. So what I did here was I just took a jar this size and I popped in some of my lavender and my calendula, and then I just spooned out as much coconut oil as I could fit inside this jar. And I put the lid on, and I actually infused this in the summertime, so I know it's already had some time with some warmth as well. But if I was doing this right now, I obviously can't infuse the oil at room temperature because coconut oil is a saturated fat, so it's solid at room temperature. So same as I did for the olive oil, I just want to warm it up a bit so I can put this on one of my heaters, like my heat vents, or I could also put this jar in a container with not boiling water, but tap hot water, right? As hot as your tap water would go. And that would be warm enough to infuse the coconut oil with your herbs. So coconut oil can be pretty greasy, but when it does something pretty magical when you combine it with sugar and salt. So let me just get ready. Is it melted, Avery? Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. It's ready? Oh yeah, okay. So we're gonna turn that right down. So that didn't take long. I'm just gonna move the camera over again so you can see. Okay, so that already melted, and then give it a really good whisk, Avery. So it's hard to imagine it needs a whisk because it all looks like liquid, but I'll tell you, if you just let it re-solidify, all of the beeswax pastilles will just be the same shape again. So you give it a nice whisk. Very good, thank you. Isn't it great to have all our children at home this week? It's wonderful. Okay, so the next thing is you want to make sure you've got a container to pour your hot liquids with a spout if it's going into something small. So for example, if I do a lip balm into a small container, I won't be able to pour out of a big stainless steel bowl. I'll want to decant it into this and then pour it into my molds. But today I've got a pretty big jar. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to take a cloth. Oops, I'm not going to burn myself. So one thing about the double boiler, here, I'll show you here, is it will put condensation on the bottom of the bowl, and I don't want any water in my salve. It'll just decrease the shelf life of my salve. So I'm going to give the bottom a bit of a wipe to make sure it doesn't go in. And then I'm going to bravely, on film, decant this into my smaller one. All right, that's pretty good. Wonderful. And then I'm just going to fill my jars, jar by jar. I like to use glass for my salves, but you can use plastic. There we go. Okay, so I have more than the containers I have. And what am I going to do with the rest of this? I will deal with that later. That's in my deal with later pile. Okay, so I actually made enough that I could probably fill another jar. If I had another jar, which I don't, I would fill it. Okay, no problem. So that would probably make 5 jars, a surprising 5 jars. And I'm just going to let this cool. And as it cools, it's going to solidify to the consistency of the salve here. And then what I like to do for effect is right before it gets totally congealed, I sprinkle on just a couple of petals of calendula, so it looks really beautiful. So it'll mostly get opaque and hard, and then just before it's totally hard, I'll put a few petals on top for beauty. And it's nice to see the herb that you're working with intact in your body care products, just to remind you that we are working with plants. So back to our, oh, first of all, any questions about the salve? We went through that pretty quickly, but honestly, it's super easy to do. Once you make a salve, you'll just keep making them and making them and making them. And if you've made your salve and you find that the consistency isn't great for you, you can just play around. Maybe you want to put a bit more beeswax next time. Another thing I can do is I've goofed these up a few times, and even though I do consistent amounts of everything, sometimes it just doesn't harden in the way that I am anticipating, and I don't know what the variable is. But it's super easy to just scoop, right? I could scoop this all back out of my jars once it's hard. I could scoop it all back into the bowl and then add more beeswax or more oil, depending on if I want to make it more hard or more soft, right? So if I want it to go harder, I'm going to add more beeswax. If I want it to go softer, I'm going to put in either shea butter or more olive oil. So super clean ingredients: olive oil, calendula, shea butter, and beeswax. That's it.
What's this? Oh, no, because you don't want her to see us, right? Or do you care?
Yeah.
Oh,
You want to ask a question?
yes.
Go for it.
Have you ever added essential oils to the salve?
You can, especially if you're going for the aromatherapy value of it. The reason why I, in particular, don't love using essential oils is it takes a lot of biomass, a lot of plants to produce a small vial of
Right.
essential oils.
Right.
So if I can get the same kind of aroma with actual plants, for me, it's more sustainable, which I value. But people
Perfect.
do. And I would just, if you're going to put it in, I would only put 1 drop in the whole batch, not even in each. You need so little essential oil, right? It's so
Right.
so strong.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. They do smell amazing though. I know they're one of those things that sort of tear my values. Okay. So good question. Any other questions? You might also find that your skin doesn't love a high concentration of essential oil. You're meant to dilute essential oils in a carrier oil anyways. So I might put 1 drop of essential oil in at least 10 drops of olive oil, but probably even more. I bought a distiller to try and make my own essential oils, and I was amazed by how much plant material you need to make 1 millimeter of essential oil in one of those vials. It's an amazing amount of plant. Okay, so moving on to our exfoliating scrub. I'm going to move these. Generally, I wouldn't move them. I'd let them just sit, but I am going to move them just to give myself some space. So let's get this. Okay. So for this one, Gonna flip my page. This one I usually keep in the shower, and I just use a little bit on my feet, probably 3 times a week. But some people do use this on their face. I don't love using exfoliation on my face, but again, it's so individualized. You're just testing to see what works well for your skin and your body. So we're going to do 3/4 cups of cane sugar. And price wise, we got a lot of cane sugar here. So this was $4. This was the most expensive ingredient, but I got a lot of it. So that was $4 from the bulk barn. And for this recipe, I'm just going to use 3/4 of a cup. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. And I'm just going to use this for myself probably, so I'm not too worried about these lumps of sugar. It's an exfoliant anyways, but if you want it to be all pretty, you can make sure you've got all those lumps out of it. And then I'm going to put in 1/4 cup of Himalayan salt. And this was $2.80, and that's quite a bit of pink salt here. And way more than I'm ever going to use. Okay. Very good. And so we're not going to put anything watery into this recipe. So we don't need to add any natural preservatives or anything because there's no water there. So if we're using dried herbs and dried goods, it preserves itself. And then we're going to put in 4 tablespoons of a liquid coconut oil, which I've been putting my infused coconut oil. Oh, my water got cold and it turned solid again. Try this one. Oh, same thing happened there. Okay, let me see what happens. How hard can it be? Let's see how hard it is. Wow, that's amazingly hard. Let's try this one. So ideally, I want to re-liquefy my coconut oil. Oops. But alas, it's all hard. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put hot tap water into this bowl and re-melt it. It's amazing how fast it solidifies. Sorry, my tap doesn't get hot very quickly. Okay. All right, so while we're letting that become a liquid, we can put in the rest of our ingredients. So this is also calling for a teaspoon of honey, and honey is a nice antimicrobial. Some people use honey alone as a face mask. And here we go. Got some nice honey here. Smells so good. Okay, 1 teaspoon of honey. Very good. And I am going to put a bit of vitamin E in this one, just 1 drop, because it is so good for your skin. You could leave it out, but I've just got this vitamin E oil that I got from a health food store, and I'm just going to put 1 drop in. I usually put it in my lip balms and my salves. It's so good for any skincare product. Nice antioxidant, so just 1 drop. Usually there's very little put in skincare products just in case people react to it. And then the only thing that I need now is my coconut oil. Let's see. Are you melting? You're not melting. Okay. Well, you know what I'll do because I'm going to use this. So normally I would make this liquid and then I would strain out all of the herbs that I have been infusing. But what the heck, I'm going to use this myself. So I'm just going to scoop it right out and put my coconut oil. So there's going to be, in this exfoliating scrub, I'm going to have calendula petals and lavender flowers in it. So 1, 2, we're going to put this whole thing in about 4 tablespoons. There we go. And so this is kind of hard to mix, and I have not been able to do it without getting my hands in there. So I'll probably do that. I will say it's a lot less beautiful with the petals in because they've already given up all their good stuff into the coconut oil, but not to worry, it's going to work the same. Oh boy, it smells good. So this is the consistency I'm looking for. It's still nice and coarse. And like I can feel this grit between my fingers. And for anyone who's kept olive oil or coconut oil around too long, you know that coconut oil can go rancid. So you just want to be mindful that you use this up in a few months. And because I'm going to put this in the shower to use on my feet, it's preferred if you can find a container that doesn't have a glass lid, because the glass lids will rust if you put them. They just don't look very good with all that rust on them. So if you can find a container with a plastic lid, like this one here has a nice plastic lid. And then here's the easy part. Just gonna scoop those in. No, actually it doesn't, like, it looks edible. Looks like I could make cookies out of this or something. And if you are going to gift this to someone and you're a writer type, sometimes I combine it with a haiku poem or something like that to sort of set the mood for self-care or something playful or funny. So here we go. And then again, to make this, well, I might as well get it all in there. So that was a perfect cup. And then I make the top of this beautiful too. I can put a few lavender petals right on top. Actually, I'm quite happy with this, with the petals. I just know that I'm gonna have to strain my shower now. So there we go. There's a nice, here's another version with the strained coconut oil, but a nice body scrub. And the salves are just starting around the edges to harden, but again, they'll become the consistency of that tin that I showed you. That's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that, oh, there we go. There's the used salve one. I hope that you feel inspired to start making your own body care products. I'll send Annie the recipe and then she'll forward them along to you. Miriam's daughter, what have you made? It looks so good. Is it like a body butter?
It's sort of a body butter and a lip balm-ish.
Yeah, you could combine, you could use it on your body or your lips. What
Mhm.
do you want to share? What ingredients you used?
Well, we used the honey
Beeswax.
beeswax.
Yeah,
We used essential oils.
No.
Got it.
Oil.
No, the essential oil.
Oh,
Lemon.
liquor bitter.
Yeah.
got it.
Chamomile and
Coconut oil.
coconut oil.
Awesome.
That's it.
Wonderful. Did I hear you say chamomile?
No.
Yep.
Wonderful. And did you infuse those flowers into your oil, or did you just add it right in?
I added right in. Then
Oh, wonderful. You had some around the house in a tea bag or something?
we have,
From David's tea.
yeah.
Like pure from David's tea.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Okay. I'm happy to see next time I do something, I'll send the ingredients ahead of time in case people want to have the opportunity of working alongside me as we go. Any questions before we?
Thanks very much.
Oh yeah, you're welcome very much. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. So you'll send me the recipes and I can email them to everyone. That would be great. And thanks so much for coming tonight. Your kitchen must smell wonderful.
Oh, it's so nice. So
Okay.
nice.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're
Yes.
welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks again,
Thank you
Jennifer.
very
Happy
much.
herbs.
Happy herbs.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.